Okay everyone, I said that I would put this video out, so I will introduce you to a couple of concepts regarding orthographic projection, and I'll try to link out to some of the other stuff that we have done as well. Again, I will point out that the tools that are available within something like SketchUp or AutoCAD or any other set of programs that's truly a 3D program will, I'm not going to say make this set of skills obsolete, but I have had discussion with some students who have been drafting that realize how many people have started to lose the ability to look at orthographic projection. So I'm going to introduce you to the layering, especially in this, and the concept of fold line, projection lines, and the reverse pool shot. I'm going to do that by just drafting up. I think I might have done this in class, and you'll figure out as it goes along. I'm just going to draft up a cylinder with a hole in it, and that cylinder is going to be, if you would, it's going to be 2 inches or 2 units wide and 3 units tall. So I'm going to start, as usual, I'm going to try to start by turning all my layers on by right-clicking and turning my layers on and going to the layer toolbar and seeing that I've got a bunch of layers here already, and I want, of course, them all to be on. So I'm turning on the object there, and I'm going to get rid of that. And in the end, sometimes I don't draft the box first, I draft it second. But I always forget to turn on the keyboard. I had a discussion earlier today about the trustworthiness of Bluetooth. My keyboard, I must say, is a Bluetooth keyboard, so letting you know that Bluetooth is great, but it doesn't work sometimes. And you can sometimes not trust it. So I'm clicking, getting rid of that. I'm going to draft this piece and realize soon we're going to be talking about the different views of looking at something. I'm going to point out that most programs you're going to draft in 3D nowadays and then bring the 2D back, and you'll see that in some of the other video links that I provide. But I'm going to more or less start here. I'll start with putting my layer correctly, and I'm going to talk about pretty quickly about different colors of layers. I'm going to draft a box, or draft my part first, and I'm going to click on it and then say at, well, 2 across and 3 up. And I've got basically what would be then considered the front view of this piece. And if it's a round cylinder later on, you're going to see over on the right side, it's going to be the same thing. So I'm now going to introduce you, once again, learning how to click on something and explode it. I'm going to introduce you to the concept of projection lines and of fold lines. And so I'm going to make those layers. I like to make my fold lines yellow. I don't know why, but I do. So I'm going to click on here, and I'm going to click, and I'm going to say fold lines. And soon we'll have our layers set up that way. And I want the fold lines to be yellow for me. That's what works. And then I want to make something called projection lines. And I want that to be a color that doesn't really come in that much. It fades back to the background. And I'm going to keep my layer set on object. So I've made now projection lines and fold lines. And I'm going to point out I have a hidden layer and a center layer. So later on when the program tries to make hidden lines, it's going to have something that it can do with it. We'll talk about the mathematics of the fold line and how it all works, hopefully maybe by the end of this second video. But I'm going to offset now. I'm going to just offset. You want to give yourself some space typically. I'm going to offset 1 here. Offset that one distance and that one distance. Learn that I can fill it. Click, click. And right away change this to the layer, which is the fold line layer. And immediately once I do that, I'd like to also have a 45-degree line off. That's also going to be a fold line. So I'm going to left click, spacebar, C for copy. Turn that. It turns out to be a positive 135, and I've got something that's called a reverse pool shot. Now what you'll see in the end, that distance from here to here, right, does not necessarily, we'll talk about what has to be true and what does not, but how you fold these lines. I'm going to go ahead and just take the same distance here and then offset again. Offset, so 2. Right, and in the end that's really not what's going on with it, but that's going to kind of be the front of my, and I'm going to go ahead and offset this 2 as well. Now, if you think about this being a round object, in other words, the cylinder, if I look at it from the side view or the front view, it's going to be the same. So I'm going to offset this 2. And I'm going to go ahead, visually I don't see it, but I'm going to go a line from the end point here to the end point there. I'm going to do a line from the end point here to the end point there. And so I now immediately have at least what kind of works as a side view. We're going to start talking about the reverse pool shot here and this concept of, I'm going to list these because boy, they don't see that as being the same. That is 2, this is 2, and so it's true. If you get nothing else out of this video, those of you at Orthographic Projection, get the fact that the draw order is used. So what I'm going to do right now is do a reverse pool shot. I'm going to project this line up to there and then across, and this line up to there and across. I'm going to do that by putting my layer on projection lines and I'm going to use the X line. The X line I'm going to grab from the end point here, and it's vertical and horizontal. I'm going to do that. I'm going to offset through. Right? And I'm going to do X lines across the other way as well. And of course, what you start to see, I'm going to go from the end point there, and I'm on a horizontal X line. Same thing there, offset T for through. And now I want to point you out to how important colors become. I'm going to grab each of these lines, I'm going to right click, and I'm going to change the display order to send to back. And so what you see is those lines are then held on the outside. I'm going to do 2 more projection lines going up, offset through that, through the end point there, and it's nice they stay to the back through the end point there. Now, in the end, we're also going to start talking about center lines, and so let me draft a center line in the middle that's going to be the center of a hole you'll eventually see fall in. A line from the mid to the midpoint, and that, of course, should not be on the projection lines, it should be on the center line layer. And the same thing there, a line from the mid to the mid. Right, shift right click, midpoint. And very often you'll see soon there's better ways to change your layers, center line there. Now I'm going to do the reverse pool shot, extend, screw that, make sure that my pool shot can go around. And even though these lines project up and through, what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this and then turn them 90 degrees. So break, click and through, break, click and through, extend, screw that. And what you see is I just turned an X line into 2 rays. I'll prove that to you. List this. It's a ray. Not an A-R-R-A-Y, but a ray. In other words, something that projects in one direction. And now I'm going to left click, spacebar, rotate a positive 90 degrees. Same thing here, left click, spacebar, rotate a positive 90 degrees. And now I'm going to extend one more set of X lines up. I'm going to offset through the end point there. And once again, I don't necessarily always have to do that. I'm going to offset through the intersection. But what you do want to do is you want to get used to this is what. And if you do that, do me a favor, you don't have to, and trim up that line so you can see light projecting here and here. And once finally offset through the end point there. And what you see right in here, this line does not exist. What exists is a circle. So let's go ahead and remember I explained that was a cylinder. I'm going to go ahead and do, of course, my forced choice, if you would. Forced choice of center, radius. And I'm going to take my center point from the intersection here to the intersection there. Keep on forgetting to change my layer, but I'm going to now grab that and change that to center line, and I'm going to take object, and I'm going to take a quick break here and then drop a hole down through here and show how those lines project. So I'm hitting the pause. Alright, we're back. I'm going to draw a quick circle here, just arbitrary. I'm not even going to think about it at this point. I'm going to draft a circle radius, shift right click from the intersection there. I'm going to arbitrarily pull it out here. When I do that, I should put it on the correct layer. Again, these are, the green is going to be solid lines. You're going to see these are, you're going to have hidden lines, you're going to have center lines. Different line thicknesses and patterns. I'm now going to offset through here, through the quadrant here, and all again through the quadrant. I'll finish up the drafting a little bit, but I want to get it just in the 30 seconds. You'll see me bring these lines, project them down, and make them hidden. So you'll see that when you pop up. Thanks for listening. Okay, that's what that looks like when we're done. And finally thing I'm going to do is going to turn off the projection lines. You can see that how you often are going to deliver this. Go ahead, turning off the projection lines, hitting an X here, and that's what that will look like. Thanks for listening.